It is that time of week, time for Plead Your Case. I'll be your host for the first segment. I'm Anthony DiFilippo, and we're talking everything NHL. The season just kicked off a couple of weeks ago, and we are ready to talk about it. And then our mini segment, backed by popular demand, it's the 5 and 5 segment, Paul Sembower against Luke Andruscik. And finally, MLB season is coming to a close, but not before the World Series. It's the team up north versus the team out west, the Toronto Blue Jays against the Los Angeles Dodgers. Make sure to stay tuned for all Plead Your Case content in this episode.
Welcome into Plead Your Case, Waynesburg Community Television's national sports debate show, now expanding outside the realm of the Power 4 sports. All our panelists will expand into the depths of professional sports while speaking on the newest sports topics each week. We're also bringing new mini-segments like I Got Something to Say, State of the Union, Pick 'em Pools, while even bringing back a popular mini-segment, the 5 and 5. Here at PYC, we plan to create debates, create memories, and the best takes possible for you, the viewer. No one is safe. Every opinion, every angle will be challenged and discussed to further detail. So sit back, relax. It's now time to plead your case.
We're back. Stick, puck, and ice. I'm Anthony DiFilippo. Here's Brayden King, Tyler Aaron, the three most or biggest hockey fans in the communication department, I would say. We're talking everything hockey in the next 7 to 9 minutes, and we're going to cover it all. Brayden, let's get us started off. Teams you like so far in the first 2 weeks of the season?
There's been a bunch of games going on at the start of the year, but the two teams that I really like, I've got one out of the East, one out of the Western Conference. So first off, in the West, the Vegas Golden Knights are the top team in the NHL with 12 points right now through 7 games. They've done a great job. They smacked the Hurricanes last night 4-1. It was a massive victory for them. Players to watch for them, I really like how Jack Eichel started out the season. 16 points in just 7 games to begin the year. On the other side, in the East, Detroit has been the biggest surprise this season, and I will stand behind that. They dropped opening night against Montreal 5-1, but since then they've won 5 straight games against the Western Conference defending champions, the Eastern Conference defending champions, Tampa Bay, and a home-and-home series against Toronto. So going with that, their captain, Dylan Larkin, 11 points. He's third in the NHL in scoring. He's got a great season so far.
Brandon Bussi was acquired from the Florida Panthers. He was a waiver claim right before the season started, and he's been good for the Hurricanes so far. That's a team that I want to talk about. This Carolina team opened the season 5-1. They beat the Devils, Flyers, Sharks, Ducks, and Kings. Sans their loss to the Vegas Golden Knights last night, which they did not play well in. But they've been good so far. I mean, Nikolai Ehlers and Andrei Svechnikov are off to rough starts. They have 1 point combined to the Hurricanes' first 6 games, Tyler.
Yeah, I mean, all their big guys, they haven't started, picking up the pace. So once when they get going, they're going to be a scary team coming out of the East because their goaltending looks like it seems to be resolved. You get those big guys going, they're really going to go far this season and easily will lock up the Metropolitan Division.
How about teams that are struggling, Tyler? What do you got there?
Yeah, so I got both teams out of the East. I got the Buffalo Sabres first. How can you not bring up the Buffalo Sabres every year? Haven't made the playoffs since 2010. 2011. Everyone, it seems like all their star players is about fed up with the organization and wants to leave. You can tell there's frustration with Alex Tuck, Rasmus Dahlin. So some of these guys are coming up on contract years too. So just seeing what's going to happen in Buffalo, you're going to have to find answers here at some point because you can't go back into another lengthy rebuild. It's been 15 years. I mean, Buffalo just needs to fix everything. The New York Rangers, another team out of the East, 3-4-1 record. And I mainly bring them up right now because of their home record. Right now, they first 3 games, all shut out. Lost to Pittsburgh in the first game of the season. So you almost had a very dubious record from the 1928 Pittsburgh Pirates and how much time it took for them to score their first goal at home this season. But they got their goal yesterday against Minnesota, 50 seconds in, and nothing else the rest of the night. So offense just needs to keep it going or pick up the pace at least.
Yeah.
Igor Shesterkin can't be carrying your team throughout all 82 games this year.
The Rangers have been outscored 9-1 at home. They have an 0-4 record. On the road, it's almost the opposite, and it's weird. 15-6 is the goal differential. They're 3-0-1. Brayden, do you see this Rangers team picking up the pace with their new coach Mike Sullivan?
I actually do. I think that the Sullivan philosophy for the Rangers just hasn't been bought in yet. I expect the players to kind of get that jump later in the year around the November-December range, but as soon as they start getting over there, that's when I think the Rangers begin to pick it up, and I think they actually squeak into the playoffs. It's a bold claim right now, this being this early in the year, but I think that they have an opportunity to get there.
I think they can. I mean, Mike Sullivan's one of the best coaches in the NHL for a reason. I mean, that's why he was in Pittsburgh so long. He was there for 10 seasons. So I really think they'll pick it up. Again, it's a new coach. You're learning a whole brand new system, even though it's really the same cast of guys. But you did lose a lot of key players like Andre Miller. That's the big guy that you lost. But you bring in a guy on defense like Vladislav Gavrikov, too. So it just depends what the Rangers are going to do from here on out. But I do expect them to pick up the pace at some point.
I think it's important to note that the Metropolitan Division, that third spot is wide open. Oh, yeah. I think the Hurricanes got that first spot. Devils, either you can flip-flop the order, but it's between the Rangers, Capitals, Blue Jackets, and Penguins. I don't consider the Islanders a top 3 team in the Metro at all. I think they'll miss the playoffs outright, and I thought they would have been doing that for the last couple of seasons. Let's talk youth movement. Speaking of the New York Islanders, they have their number 1 overall pick, Matthew Shazer, Brayden.
He's been a pleasant surprise to begin his NHL career. Obviously, he was going to get a lot of workload thrown onto him the second he jumped into the league. And he's done a very good job. 1 goal, 4 assists, 5 points in 5 games. That's a really good start to an NHL career, being point per game as a defenseman. I think that he's been a very big asset for this Islanders team. And that youth movement that they're trying to work on is going to really, really help them going forward with Shazer at the helm.
Yeah.
Do you have a rookie that you really like, Tyler?
Yeah, I'm going to be a little bit of a Pittsburgh bias here. Ben Kindle. I'll tell you what, this wasn't on my bingo card coming into the season. He's 18 years old, 11th overall pick. I really thought he was going back to juniors this year. Absolutely came out of nowhere where he started all those preseason games. Now he's in line, and he's really been a difference maker on the 3rd line or 4th line, wherever you put him at. But you can tell the Penguins seem rejuvenated in their young cast of characters that have pieces. You got Harrison Brunick, that's another guy to mention. I think a lot of people didn't think he was going to make the team. I think it was just going to be another year in juniors. Philip Hollander making the lineup. You can really tell there's more speed. The puck's moving faster with the Penguins. Evgeny Malkin, for example, seems rejuvenated. It could be his last season. We don't know yet. So I think this Penguins team's going to surprise people at least to start. Will I think it will carry on into February, March after the Olympics? I don't know. I can't answer that, but I'll tell you what, as Penguins fans, something to be excited about right now.
Rookies have scored 31 goals this season. A lot of those have come from Emmett Finney, who's been really good for the Detroit Red Wings.
Finney's been great. A former 7th-round pick for a guy like him back in 2023, just jumping onto the scene. You think about players in the history of the league that have struggled being, later round picks like 5th or 6th or 7th round picks. This guy has completely flipped the script. 2 goals, 3 assists, 5 points in his first 6 games on the season. He's had a really good start to his NHL career. Finney is a really good depth piece. I like him a lot.
I mean, with the Red Wings, you have so many young guys that have their early years out of the way already and are leaning towards their prime years now, like Moritz Seider, Lucas Raymond, Dylan Larkin. I know he's in the 30s now, but he still heavy producing. I really think this is going to be the year, especially your biggest problem last year was goaltending. And John Gibson, you acquired him at the draft last year. You got your guy. And I know he struggled on earlier this year, especially that first game, but he's really settled in nicely with Detroit, and I really think they'll push for the playoffs, and I really think they'll get it. If not the top 3, easily a wild card team.
We got a little bit of a taste of him at the end of last year. He actually made his debut in the playoffs, but I have really liked Zeev Bouillon's play so far, the defenseman for Minnesota. He has fresh legs. He's dominating on the power play. They have him as their power play quarterback on their power play 1 right now. So he has been really good. Guys, we got to jump to it. Rapid fire. You have division winners and then your Stanley Cup winner. Tyler, we'll start at the end with you.
All right, division winners out of the Metropolitan, got to be Carolina. It could be the Devils. I just think Carolina is just going to be an absolute juggernaut this year. Out of the Atlantic, back-to-back Stanley Cup champions, they literally kept the entire cast of characters again and pretty much locked them up until the end of this decade. The Florida Panthers. The Central's iffy with me. I think it'd be one of 2 teams, either the Dallas Stars or the Colorado Avalanche. I really like Colorado this year and how they played. I mean, They started out now a 5-0-1 record right now to start the year. My main question for Colorado would be your goaltending and what are you doing with Martin Necas? He's in a contract year. Are you keeping him or are you trading him? Because you can't let that big of a player walk in free agency. And the Pacific, I have the Vegas Golden Knights. That's easy. And my Stanley Cup pick right now, it's Carolina over Colorado.
So for me, I don't have a lot of differences from last season, honestly. The only one that really changes and sticks out to me is Carolina taking over the Metropolitan Division. I think that they're probably the deepest team in that division, in that conference, let alone. I think they honestly have a shot at winning the President's Trophy this year. Out of the Atlantic, I still have Toronto, the same team from last year. Now, that doesn't mean that Toronto will go far in the playoffs. I don't expect that. They haven't had the history behind it. I don't think that they do that again this year. Winnipeg out of the Central is my number one team in the Western Conference, and then Vegas is the biggest slam dunk of all time. In the Stanley Cup Final, until someone beats Florida in the Stanley Cup playoffs, I don't expect them to not lose this cup. I've got Florida over Dallas in 7.
Guys, appreciate you for coming on, talking hockey. We covered a lot in 7 to 9 minutes, but we got there, so we'll be back later in the year. But that will do it for our segment. Just for the record, I have Carolina winning the Metro, Florida winning the Atlantic. If we had more time, I'd talk about Montreal a lot. Colorado winning the Central, Vegas winning the Pacific, and in my Stanley Cup Final, I have the Avalanche this year. I really like them, and I have them over the Florida Panthers. Yes, they'll make it back, but they'll finally lose this season. When we come back, it's the mini segment, Paul Sembower against Luke Andruscik. Cade Henderson is hosting, so make sure you don't go anywhere.
Welcome to the Plead Your Case mini segment. I'm Cade Henderson, your host today, here to give you the rapid NFL 5-5. I'm joined alongside Luke Andruscik, matching up against Paul Sembower here for some very interesting NFL questions as we go into Week 8. Starting off today, the Ravens have begun the season 1-5. Paul, do you think that they have a chance to make the playoffs?
You know, Kay, I do think that there's a chance that they make the playoffs. Yes, granted, they are injury prone, but their schedule gets a little bit lighter and lighter. And, you know, Lamar Jackson is coming back here soon, and he's a key part of the offensive struggles. But the AFC North standings don't really help their case with the Steelers being on top. But I do see them making the playoffs with maybe a 9-8 record.
I'm going to have to disagree with you there, Paul. I don't believe the Ravens are going to make the playoffs, where they currently sit 1-5 at the bottom of the AFC North with all these games ahead of them. They have a pretty easy schedule coming up. I think they're going to win a majority of the games. I think they're going to finish 9-8 and miss the playoffs. They have Roquan Smith returning this week. Lamar Jackson hasn't practiced so far this week. May return for Chicago this week, may not. I think he's going to help. I think the NFL makes it hard for teams to run the table and win the games. I think they don't make the playoffs, barring a Steelers meltdown.
I'd have to agree with you, Luke. The injury struggles for Jackson has really hurt this Ravens team. Next question. The Panthers have started the season 4-3. Luke, how many wins do you think they'll end up with?
Well, they're currently second in the NFC South behind 5-2 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They've played weak competition so far, not really beating teams by all that much. Beating the Jets 13-6 this past week. Bryce Young left the game versus the Jets this past week with an ankle injury. He's day-to-day, but doubtful to go this week against Buffalo. Their remaining schedule is not very easy. They play Buffalo, Green Bay, San Francisco, the Rams, Seattle. In conclusion, I think they are going to win 7 games.
All right, you know, I think that they will have 7 wins. With starting QB Bryce Young getting hurt, it kind of gives them a setback. And they do play the Buccaneers twice, like Luke said, that they are currently sitting at the top of the division with a 5-2 schedule. And it's not going to be a cakewalk for them. But the Saints, Falcons, and 49ers being on their schedule, it should be easy wins for them. And I see them winning 7 games. And they also have the 17th hardest schedule in the NFL, so it does also get a little bit lighter. But with the Green Bay Packers also being on their schedule and them being a little bit more of a difficult team, it doesn't really help their case.
All right, 7 wins. Love to hear it, Paul. Next question. The NFL's had a little bit of parity this year. Paul, what do you think the scariest team in the NFL is this year?
In my opinion, I think it's the Detroit Lions. You know, Jared Goff has over a 75% completion rate with only 2 interceptions and over 1,300 yards. And their offense averages 43 points a game. Players like Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta have been key players. And on the defensive side, Aiden Hutchinson is tied for 4th with sacks. He has 6 sacks, and he is tied for 1st in the NFL with 4 forced fumbles.
I think it's absolutely ridiculous to say anyone in the NFL is scarier than the Kansas City Chiefs right now. Currently sitting at 5-3 and 3rd in the division. They're going to sneak up on some teams. They just got Rashee Rice back. They have beaten a Baltimore team with Lamar. They have beaten the Detroit Lions by 13 points. Their 3 losses came against the Chargers in a 6-point Week 1 loss, a 3-point Week 2 loss to the Eagles, and a 3-point loss to a surprisingly good Jaguars team. As much as people hate to hear it, the Chiefs are going to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl again this year, and that's because they have the best quarterback and the best head coach in the league. They're not slowing down.
Yeah, I would say as good as the Chiefs are, I still think the Lions are a little bit scarier with that defense. 4th question, Baker's had a really impressive season so far. Do you think, Luke, is he this year's MVP candidate?
You know, as a Browns fan who made his PlayStation gamer tag MVP Baker back in 2020, I always imagined Baker winning the MVP with the orange and brown. But I'm going to have to say my pick is Patrick Mahomes. The MVP should go to the player who, if you take him off the team nosedives into mediocrity. If you take Baker and replace him with an average QB, the Buccaneers are still winning the NFC South. If you take Mahomes and replace him with an average quarterback, the Chiefs are not winning the division. The Chargers or the Broncos would take that up this year. Give it to Mahomes.
You know, in my opinion, it's a little bit of a toss-up right now. It's kind of hard to see at this point with Baker having over 1,700 yards and 2 interceptions and has led the Bucs to a 5-2 record. All those become, like I said, a little bit of a toss-up with a loss to the Lions on Monday night. So, in my opinion, he could win it. He could win it all. But it's going to be close.
I'd have to say with Baker's struggles from last night, I'd have to agree with Luke on who the MVP will be. Final question as the score's 2-2. The Steelers have had some recent struggles. The Bengals' loss was pretty bad back on Thursday night. Paul, what do you think is to blame for their struggles, coaches or players?
You know, I think it's both. Coaching problems with the defense and messing up simple play calls. And for example, an embarrassing kickoff incident with rookie Caleb Johnson, it can't happen. Simple mistakes are killing this team. Do I think that they still have a chance to make the playoffs? Absolutely. They just need to iron out the small mistakes, and the defense needs to start paying attention. Stop leaving players open all the time.
I'm going to agree and disagree with you, Paul. I'm going to say both and or neither. I don't think you can put this loss on either a group of coaches or a group of players. The Steelers' offense played great, and I'm not sure how you would want them to play any better or be coached any better. And I know all the Steelers fans are saying, how can you lose to Joe Flacco? But clearly the scheme was to get Jamar Chase the ball. They targeted him 23 times, getting 16 catches. I don't know how any team is really going to stop that. I think if you want to blame anyone, you can blame the general manager of the Cleveland Browns, Andrew Berry, for giving them Joe Flacco, a guy who can actually feed T. Higgins and Jamar Chase the ball.
Funny enough, I'll have to agree with that, Luke. Andrew Berry kind of ruined it for the Steelers. That will be it for the segment. Luke Andruscik is our winner with a score of 3-2 here on the Rapid NFL 5-5 and the PYC mini segment. I'm Cade Henderson, signing off.
Oh, I didn't see you there. I'm Mia Hinkins, and welcome to Buell Hall, home of Waynesburg University's Department of Communication. If you visit our campus, you'll have the opportunity to attend some comm classes, enjoy lunch with our students, and watch us in action. We hope to see you here soon at Waynesburg University.
To schedule your personal visit, go to waynesburg.edu/admissions/schedule-visit. Come grow with us at Waynesburg University.
Welcome back into Plead Your Case. For this segment, we're talking all things World Series. It just wrapped up, going into the World Series now, November 1st. We're going to break it down and give you everything you need to know. I'm Seth Adams. I'll be your host for this segment. Alongside of me is Dean Shazer, Logan Arblaster, and Wyatt Clatterbaugh. Now, guys, we've had an exciting AL, but the NL, it seems pretty one-sided. We've had the Dodgers completely clean sweep, almost one loss over their expedition here. It seems like this team is truly, truly dominant, and it kind of proves the cap situation. We might get into that later, but let's talk about the Dodgers in general. This team has been really, really electric, you guys. Logan, what do you think?
They won 14 of their last 15 games, and that goes back to the last series of the regular season when they beat the Mariners, who, by the way, just lost to the Toronto Blue Jays in the ALCS. So I really don't see a path that the Dodgers don't win the World Series here. I mean, they're a $509 million roster versus the Blue Jays' $252 million roster. There's no reason they shouldn't win this World Series. And to be honest with you, Shohei Ohtani by himself could win the Dodgers this World Series. He just had the best single-game performance in postseason history in my eyes. He had 10 strikeouts on the mound. He had 3 homers at the plate. And if you put that in basketball terms, if LeBron James was on the basketball court, that would be like him scoring 60 points on 10 three-pointers and having 20 assists. So what they're doing right now is out of this world. I know that the Toronto Blue Jays have Vladimir Guerrero, and that's going to be a big matchup, him versus Shohei Ohtani. And it really is going to be hard to beat the Dodgers.
Well, you talk about the cap situation. You mentioned it, and it was just quoted the other day that Clint Hurdle mentioned a salary floor, and he said, yeah, it's absolutely necessary for baseball because if you look at the bottom 4 teams in baseball, their payrolls aren't even a fraction, not even 20% of what the Dodgers pay. That Shohei contract that was backloaded, yeah, they made that money back in sales this year. So it shows that not necessarily a cap is needed, but a floor absolutely, because players are never going to agree to a cap.
And that's what it is. It's baseball versus the Dodgers at this point. Is it really the Blue Jays versus the Dodgers, or is it baseball versus the Dodgers? I think that's the greater issue here when you look at the World Series.
Yeah, and I mean, you kind of piggybacked off it. Shohei Ohtani had probably one of the best performances, 10 strikeouts, 3 home runs, basically carried the Dodgers to their second World Series, back-to-back World Series appearances at that. But I want to talk about the pitching staff of this Dodgers team. Blake Snell, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Tyler Glasnow, and Shohei Ohtani all combined for a 1.4 ERA, 81 strikeouts, and 64 innings pitched. That's insane numbers for a pitching staff, and it's like you said, Logan, it's baseball against the Dodgers at this point. I'm excited to see what the Blue Jays do. They have some players, Alejandro Kirk. They have Vladimir Guerrero Jr. They have George Springer, who carried the Blue Jays into the World Series. But it is going to be interesting to see, especially with the loaded roster. You got Mookie Betts, who's batting .303 in the postseason. It's going to be a very, very interesting World Series.
Now let's shift over to the other series that we had that just wrapped up last night. Or for us last night, a very exciting Game 7 that ended with a Springer 3-run home run. What are our biggest takeaways from that one? What can we expect from Toronto since we saw that series with the Seattle Mariners?
I love that in a day and age of all this advanced statistics and all these analytical stats and how hard you hit the ball, everything can be tracked, that the simple game of baseball, that being small ball, is inevitable. It works almost every time, and I know for you, Logan, you're one of the biggest fans of small ball. You've played baseball your whole life growing up, played through high school, considered it during college, decided you should retire. But the thing is, small ball, and you watch the bunt over to second and third, Blue Jays have 8-9-1 coming up, and Springer being your leadoff hitter, just we had a feeling.
That seventh inning was...
After Batista, what we were talking about at the Rangers, it just felt the same way.
If you're the Blue Jays in this situation, if you want to find a recipe to success to beat the Dodgers, it's the 7th inning. You have to be able to do that almost every inning, though, and be able to replicate that across more innings than not, because to the point Wyatt made, the Dodgers have a 1.54 ERA. That's astronomically good.
That's ridiculous.
The Blue Jays ERA is 4.36. So you have to find other ways to score runs to beat the other team, and one of the ways to do that is play situational hitting and do it well and be able to move guys up bunting the baseball.
Yeah, I'm just going to piggyback off that. The Blue Jays have one of the worst combined ERAs in the postseason at 13.85 ERA. That's not going to get it done, but it was a heck of a series. I give the Mariners big props. Cal Raleigh, one of the best seasons you've seen from a switch-hitting catcher, 61 home runs. I believe he had 6 in the postseason as well. But George Springer, when the Blue Jays needed it most, got it done, got that 3-run home run. Vlad Guerrero Jr. has been absolutely on fire in the postseason, having a .442 batting average with 6 home runs and 12 RBIs so far. George Springer on the lower side of things, only batting in the 230s, but still giving you that power that you need in that leadoff spot. So the Blue Jays have the capability to win this series. They showed it. They took it all the way to Game 7 against the Mariners. They can do it again against the Dodgers. They just have to get their bats going early and often.
Why? How are they going to win this series? You think the Blue Jays have a chance to beat the Dodgers? How in the world is that going to happen? Tell me how that's going to happen. I
think if their bats get going, Alejandro Kirk, you have Andres Gimenez, you have George Springer, you have Vladimir Guerrero Jr. They have Freddie Freeman, they have Shohei Ohtani, they have Mookie Betts, they have Andy Pages, they have all these guys. Their pitching rotation is one of the best in baseball. But if you can get your bats going early, I think they might have a legit shot. And we might talk about it a little later, but I'll give you guys my predictions a little later about who I think is going to win.
Predictions at the end.
But that's what I said a little later in the show. But I think the Blue Jays are going to shock some people in this World Series.
Let me help you out here. You're talking, and you want to give a valid point. You're just mentioning names. Talk about what Vlad Guerrero did, hitting over .430 in the postseason and 43.
They do have a higher team batting
43 at-bats in 11 games played, batting .442, 9 extra base hits, 6 of those home runs. Vlad Guerrero hits a rocket in that 7th inning, back-to-back pitches. The Mariners got consecutive outs, but Arozarena almost played it to where the ball went right over his head. He hit that ball, I think, 120 miles off the bat. It's Vlad Guerrero, George Springer, third all-time with 9 home runs. To go ahead in the playoffs is third all-time in baseball. So you got to look at the clutch factor of this team and actually mention why they can do it and not just name, because really their lineup is deep, but it's not a $700 million payroll deep. Yeah. It's a completely different ballgame. Completely. It's not even a ballgame.
I hope the Mariners win. I do hope they win. They're just not going to.
The Mariners,
Blue Jays.
We know
or the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays. I'm getting all confused here.
You got to talk about Cal Raleigh too.
But I mean, Dave Roberts, the manager of the Dodgers, said it himself. He said, for quote, "I'll tell you, before the season started, they said the Dodgers are ruining baseball. Let's get 4 more wins and let's really ruin baseball." He said that after they clinched the ALCS. He knows they're ruining baseball. Everybody knows they're ruining baseball, and they're just going to go ahead and do it another series. Joke's on him. Baseball's been ruined for years, and now they're just propelling it even more because you have 3 possible teams that free agents can go to. They're either going to go the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Dodgers, maybe the Cubs. Yeah. And everybody's went to the Dodgers the last several years, guys. So they're all on the same team. You can call it even past a super team, and there's no stopping them. The Yankees were the last team to go back-to-back. They went on a 3-peat. I think the Dodgers are going to go back-to-back.
This shouldn't.
Well, fellas, hold on.
This shouldn't make.
We're running out of time.
Well, this shouldn't just make baseball fans angry. This should make people in America angry because your largest business, your largest corporation in America is ruined and it's corrupt.
Yeah. So. Okay. So now is later. Let's talk about our series predictions. Who is going to be the team that brings home the World Series this year? Wyatt, we're going to start with you on the end. You want to talk about it first, so the floor is yours, my friend.
So as much
before you go, give me your team, the amount of games, and MVP.
Yeah, so I was going to say, as much as I want the Blue Jays to win, and as much as I think they can win this game, I do see the Dodgers taking it in 6 games. I have Shohei Ohtani being the MVP. I mean, we saw what he did in the NLCS. I think Shohei Ohtani is going to continue that momentum into the World Series, and the Dodgers are going to come out and win their 2nd consecutive World Series, and I believe their 9th in franchise history.
All right. Dean or Logan?
It's really not even about who's going to win. It's about how are they going to win and in what fashion are they going to do it? Are they going to teeter-totter around game 2 and 3 and let them get close, kind of like they did with the Phillies in an 8-2 ball game in game 2? Or are they just going to straight up keep the foot on the gas and put, pedal to the metal? Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Get rid of this cliche. Anyway,
foot on the gas.
Just dominate. 5 games, Dodgers are going to win. They outscored the Brewers 15-4 in the NLCS. They're probably going to outscore the Blue Jays 22-7 in 5 games of the World Series. It's going to be the Dodgers in 5. I'll go Mookie Betts just because Shohei's the obvious answer, but it's not going to be close, which is frustrating. That makes me mad, and that's why America should be mad. The biggest operation in America is ruined. So congratulations, Dave Roberts. You got what you wanted.
Got what he wanted. Shohei Ohtani and Mookie Betts combined double the Pirates' payroll, the Pittsburgh Pirates' payroll. So when you have 26 players on a roster, you won 14 of your last 15 games, the only loss being the 8-2 loss to the Phillies. I think this is going to be another easy sweep for the Dodgers. I think they're going to take the World Series in 4 games.
The only thing,
and I think the MVP is
the only counter
Shohei
argument
Ohtani.
you have, they're in Rogers Center, right? So it's one of the loudest baseball atmospheres of all time. You witnessed it yesterday.
If the Blue Jays are going to have a chance, they're going to have to win the games at home and they're going to have to feed off of that energy they have in the stadium. When somebody hits a home run, you hear the siren, and it goes off, and instantly it sways all the energy in their way.
Well, my prediction, I'm going to go with the Dodgers as well. I don't think that the Blue Jays are going to do it. Although I think it's going to go to 6 games. I think it'll stay interesting, and I'm going to pick Shohei as my MVP. But that's going to do it for us on the desk, talking about all things World Series, and that's going to do it for us today. Stay tuned every week for more content on sports right here on WCTV.